We'd like you now to think about an organization maybe you've been part of, but just put yourself in a scenario where you are coming in as a new leader. It could be a new clinic, a hospital, some sort of leadership endeavor. And this organization has all kinds of problems: lapsed licenses, hazardous materials violations, improper relationships, low patient satisfaction, low professional standards. And you sit down with your boss coming into this assignment, and he or she says to you, I want you to go down there and fix discipline and fix morale. And you say to yourself, what am I going to do first? Now, we get that you could potentially try to do both, but we want you to play along with us here. Imagine you have to choose one. You either need to fix discipline or fix morale. You've got to make a choice. We'd like you to reflect on which one are you going to do first? To go down and fix this organization with all these problems, are you going to first fix discipline or first fix morale? Write down your answer. Write down some of your reasons for why you're going to choose discipline or morale. And then we're going to come back to this a little bit later. So I had the privilege of teaching at West Point for 5 years and got to teach leadership. And one of the great things about teaching there, truly a bonus, was you would sponsor cadets. So this meant cadets might come over to your house on the weekends to do their laundry, or we would feed them meals. I even had a couple cadets their whole senior year that would come over to watch every episode of The Office. And you would get to know them really well, and they would become like sons or daughters to you. And the very first cadet we sponsored was a young woman named Lindsay Brent. And Lindsay was the captain of the basketball team. And so we became big Army women's basketball fans, and we would go to almost every game. My kids, I remember, I think on her senior night went and had "We Love Lindsay" signs and picked signs with her number 13 on it. And it just became part of who we were as a family. Lindsay graduated in 2005. Super proud of her. She's actually flew Black Hawk helicopters for about 20 years now. And not long after she graduated, heading into the next season, the coach at Army women's basketball was dismissed. And not sure why, but it was surprising and a little abrupt because it was in October, like odd timing for Division I college basketball. And they quickly had to hire a new coach. And they hired a young woman, 28 years old, named Maggie Dixon. Maggie had been an assistant at DePaul, but she hadn't been a head coach. They actually brought in another gentleman named Dave McGarity, who'd been around basketball for a long time, to help her with practice planning and whatnot. But I think the really interesting thing about this story is that at that time, neither the Army women's basketball team or men's basketball team had ever been to the NCAA tournament, played in March Madness. The men's team still hasn't. It's the one thing I'm hoping will happen before I die, but hasn't happened to this point as we are right now. The women's team hadn't either. They had been thoroughly mediocre for a number of years, about 500 when Lindsay was the captain of the team. Maggie Dixon came in. They hired her 3 weeks before the season started, and she led the Army women's basketball team to their first ever NCAA tournament. We were actually seated center court, a couple rows up with two of my boys, as the crowd stormed the court at the end of the game. And it's one of the coolest sporting events that I've seen live. And it's sort of a tragic story, if you will, because Maggie actually passed 3 weeks after the NCAA tournament. She died from an enlarged heart, and the whole academy was in mourning for quite a while. We're going to share with you now a video clip from ESPN, a segment they did around the time of Maggie's kind of success that she had at Army. Watch that as you go through this, and just reflect on what these young women say about Maggie, why they hired her, who she was as a leader, and just think about the things she did as a leader that helped this team succeed.
Autopsy results explain that Army's women's basketball coach Maggie Dixon had an enlarged heart and a problem with a heart valve. No matter how simple the explanation, who can really understand why a woman just 28 passes away? Dixon and her brother, Pitt head coach Jamie Dixon, made history just last month as the first brother-sister combo to lead their teams to the NCAA tournaments the same year. But now the Dixon family is in mourning, and so is a community of cadets. Josh Elliott reports from West Point.
No college campus is more acutely familiar with grief and mourning over a life lost long before its time. But at West Point, there is a palpable shock and profound sadness. Maggie Dixon was neither soldier nor officer, but she was a leader.
Her presence is what really struck us. I mean, that's the impact a leader can have. And in a house of leaders, she stood out.
She exuberated courage, strength, caring. She just embodied everything that we learned here at West Point.
Her energy just kind of seeped into everyone else, and she's everything that we talk about here, being a leader. She was everything and more.
A successful assistant coach at DePaul, the 28-year-old Dixon was hired by Army just 11 days before this season to turn around a program that had never won its conference or reached the NCAA tournament.
Maggie was a strong, happy, excited young woman, and we looked at each other, the seniors, and said, she's it, she's our coach, we have to get her.
I think every single one of us fell in love with her the second we saw her.
We knew that she was just the perfect fit for this program.
Yeah, you couldn't not love Maggie. She had an energy that would soak into everyone.
We told her that we would leave it all on the line for her, that we'd fight till the end for her, and we did, and she did for us.
Despite a 5-7 start, Dixon's team would finish 20-11. The final victory, a 1-point come-from-behind thriller over Holy Cross for the Patriot League Tournament Championship.
Army can celebrate a mad rush by the Cadets, who are the champions of the Patriot League.
It was amazing. I just remember all the football players storming out to get her and lifting her up, and she looked terrified. Bless her heart, she looked terrified.
You know, we call her a rock star and all-star, and she'd just laugh and say, oh, give me a break, you know.
There's no doubt in my mind we could never have done this without her.
I'll always just remember her, you know, up on top of all the cadets with their hand in the air, you know, and just that moment, realizing that we were on top of the world.
I've never experienced anything so exciting in college athletics as this season with that women's basketball team.
You know, we've never had like more than 10, 20 cadets come to a game, and to have like over 1,000 cadets at that championship game in football was just absolutely amazing. You can just tell, you know, how excited the entire community was for this team and for her as our coach.
Though she was only at West Point for half a year, Maggie Dixon left an indelible impression as a mentor, a friend, and a beacon.
Maggie was an extraordinary leader. We may have lost Maggie, but I think we got 20 new Maggies right now based on 7 months with that coach.
She took a group of girls that had hidden talent and just didn't know that they could do it or believe in themselves, and she made us feel like that we could fly, and we did.
Maggie was one of those people that comes along, you know, once in a lifetime.
Everybody who touched her and everybody who was around her, you couldn't help but take some of that and be a better person. And that's how I'll remember Maggie.
If I could be so lucky as to be like her when I grow up, and I think every single girl would agree.
I hope you're able to take a little bit of time and reflect on some of the incredible things that Maggie did as a leader. You got to hear these young women talk about her, that she made them feel like they could fly. I actually taught one of the young women you saw, Michelle Piasecki is her name now, but Michelle and her husband named their first daughter Maggie. You can think about the type of impact a leader has when people go and decide to name their firstborn after her. And we share this video with you and Maggie's story, not because we want you to be like Maggie Dixon or make a list of the things that Maggie Dixon did and try to go out and do those things. I could never be Maggie Dixon. Like, I watched that and I watched the way these girls talk about her, and actually it's a little bit intimidating. I mean, Doug Crandall has never walked into a room and someone said, oh, we got to hire that guy. Like, it just never happened. I don't have this presence where people just, like, I light up the room or make them feel, people feel a certain way. I got to lead in different ways. And so do you. The point isn't be Maggie Dixon. The point of showing you that is that leadership matters. And it matters immensely. Not only did she turn around this team and turn them into champions after being mediocre, She changed an entire institution. You saw in that video male cadets, football players, storming the floor and lifting women onto their shoulders. At the point Maggie Dixon was born, no woman had yet graduated from West Point. It's only a few decades later, and she is changing an institution with her leadership, not just a team. Leadership matters. It matters immensely, but we have to do it from who we are, because I know very well I can't be Maggie Dixon, and our lesson is not that you should try to be.